holiday season, and the Reds fans are happy with our gifts so far. Now we're emptying our Reds stockings, looking for more pitchers and the answer to the center field question. So, I'm Jeff.
I'm Tom.
I'm Kim.
And we are the three old Reds fans coming to you from Studio 82 down the street from our good friends at Beans in the heart of Cedarville, the most famous birthplace and final resting place of Reds pitching legend Bumpus Jones. Why did I say most famous? It is the famous. It's the only one.
But it is most famous as well.
I said like that. I said that most famous, like there's more than one.
And Jeff's a little under the weather today, but he's playing through the pain.
It's just a little,
like all great players do.
It's just early morning.
This could be his Jordan game broadcast.
That's right.
It's just early morning, sinus stuff. So I didn't get up till 9.
Early morning.
It's 10:20.
Maybe we're in California.
I woke up at 9:30, so
it's 10:20. I got up at 9. He got up at 9:30.
It's vacation.
7:30. I was looking forward to the podcast.
I was up. I didn't go to. I probably didn't go to sleep till 12:30. So anyway, if you subscribe to us on your favorite podcast app or website, thank you for being one of the most loyal Reds fans ever, especially through the last few years. We do have a 5-star rating on iTunes, but you didn't know that. So rate us and leave a review to help more Reds fans find us.
Does it count?
Only if it's a 5-star, though. If you want to give us a 1-star, then go away. We don't want you.
Does it count if we rate ourselves as 5-star?
You can. Sure. You can. Anything to boost the ratings.
How do you think we got the one rating?
That's what I was saying.
Anyway, we'll read your review on the next show if you leave us one. Unless you say you don't like us, then we might not read it. But if you're not subscribing, get with it. The rebuild is red hot, and you want to be on board when that next great Reds team plays in October.
The machine pieces are being put together.
Oh, yes. So, welcome to episode 35 in a Reds front office we haven't seen the likes of for a long time.
Isn't it wonderful?
Real quickly, episode 35. Who's the most famous 35?
I don't know. You tell me.
Don
Gullett.
Don Gullett, yeah.
There you go. All right. Is that the most famous one? I didn't look that up this time.
Incredible athlete. Hated it when he went to the Yankees as a free agent.
We all did. That was the beginning of free agency. So.
Yes,
a little bit before then, but yeah.
But you know what I mean. For the Reds.
That's the first one we really lost to the Yankees, as I recall.
Of all teams, too.
Yeah.
And he went from that short hair and everything into the Yankees. He had it let his hair grow out a little bit.
Yeah.
The only thing worse is if he would have went to the Dodgers at the time.
So, what do you guys... We're going to talk. I got some stats here. We can talk through each player a little bit that we've picked up. But just what's your overall thought?
Why don't you announce the trade?
The trade was everybody knows by now, I guess. But we got rid of Homer Bailey, traded a couple prospects, Geno Downs and Josiah Gray, who are really good low-level prospects. But we didn't trade away anybody, as you said earlier, that's like 12 to 18 months away from being kind of big league ready. And we got Alex Wood, Yasiel Puig, Matt Kemp, and what's the other guy? I got his name here.
That's why I said go ahead and pull him up.
Who was the fourth guy from the Dodgers, the backup catcher guy? Yeah, I don't even remember his name. Kyle Farmer. So, a
lot of pundits have been wondering, does that mean anything? The Barnhart's on the...
I don't think so.
Curious why they would add
the guy's only had 97 plate appearances in the major leagues.
I wonder why they
He's
threw him
performed
in.
really well at the minor league level.
Yeah,
but that means nothing.
But he's also
too.
But he's also 28, and he's a 35th round pick. So, speaking of 35, he's a 35th round pick.
О.
Yeah, so I mean,
28 years old.
Yeah,
97 plate appearances.
I don't think he's much. Maybe he.
Maybe they need a catcher somewhere in the minors.
Maybe he's a better catcher. Maybe he's
Casale.
better than Casale behind the plate. Plus, he can play two positions, and so you keep him and you let Casale go. I mean, I don't care who my backup catcher is as long as he can catch.
Agreed.
So anyway, those guys, and of course we got Tanner Roark from the not Tyler O'Rourke.
Or I thought it was Tanner O'Rourke.
You said in that Marco Polo thing.
Really close.
I just shook my head, Tom. I got to be honest. I just shook my head, and then I saw Jeff's from the grave response and said, "Okay, Jeff took care of it for us.
So,
I don't need to respond."
So, I was close.
Yeah.
So a friend of ours who is a Cubs fan, we have a group chat thing on Marco Polo, which is an app. If you're not familiar with it, it's an it's a video texting app basically. And our friend who's the Cubs fan, who, trust me, has trouble getting names right himself, things like that. He got on there and asked us, "Oh, guys, I heard the Reds made all these trades. Tell me about it. I know you guys know." So got on there and said something, and then Tom got on there and referred to him as Tyler O'Rourke. So I had to correct him.
That was really close.
It was close, but in the ballpark maybe.
This is baseball. We could be in the ballpark.
Tanner Roark. Anyway, so so there's a lot of cynicism out there. The Reds are not going to do anything.
Because historically they really haven't.
So are you surprised that they pulled these 2 triggers already?
I am. This was a big time. I think we're all surprised at this.
I'm not surprised they did stuff. I am surprised at the blockbuster nature.
It's the only blockbuster trade in the MLB this year, so far in the offseason. So I think it gets some excitement in Cincinnati for once after all these years.
Yeah. So you're nodding your head, Kim. Are you in
Yeah, I
agreement?
think
Are you
from the
nodding in agreement with Tom there?
From the macro, I'm surprised because we're used to the Reds, just especially the past few years.
Staying
Last
pat.
year, the big names were Gosselin and Pennington. But from the micro, from the hiring of Bell, which has been exciting, the hiring of a pitching coach and a hitting coach, I believe, and just it seems like Bob Castellini's been going to be an owner and stay out of it.
Yeah.
From the micro, it's like you knew something that they had been saying for so many weeks and months now. We're going to be active. We're going to be active, and you couldn't pull another Gosselin Pennington move. You had to do something. So the level to this degree surprised me. And to the poll that you asked, who am I most excited about? I'm in the minority. My answer is not Yasiel Puig. He's the sexy pick. My answer is the pitcher Alex Wood.
I feel so.
I love his numbers. I love the fact that he's a lefty. I just think it's a great pickup. And to go with Tanner Roark, I don't know how most people say it. Is it Roark?
It is Roark is how it's
Is
actually.
that how most people will pronounce it on ESPN and everything?
Well, that is the official. That
Roark,
is the
okay.
official pronunciation is Roark.
Now, we do have.
Like
I'm going to say we
row
do
your
have
boat.
2 pickups of 3 to 4 a 3 to 4 seed pitcher, a slotted pitcher, right?
Yeah.
However, we need them. We need
Yeah,
them.
well, it's not like we had anything like that before.
Exactly.
It's better than putting Feldman and Wojciechowski and all those guys out there. So
Yep, it certainly is.
well, what I've seen is that it's like now we did get a bunch of guys who are like last year of arbitration.
Yeah.
And so there is that, but we have said we want. But what this says to me is like we want to improve the team for this year.
Right.
And I think in baseball you sort of have to do that a little bit. If you want to be competitive year in year out, you've got to say what do we do to be better this year. You've got to have a split vision a little bit. You've got to look long term with some things, and you've got to look what do we need next year to be good and to compete, so that people will come to the games and care and not be completely apathetic and say you guys don't want to win.
I'm going to, when you read that all of the players have only 1 year of control, that's concerning. But the quick response to that is then you have that much more freed up money the following year.
If you need it.
Secondly, I'm thinking with Puig, who's to say Puig won't come in and hit 40 to 50 homers and say, you know what? I like this small ballpark. I think I want to stay here another year. I like playing with a Joey Votto. I like playing with Suarez. I like this team. And who's to say that one of these guys, if not 2 of them, won't re-up? I really don't think.
It's very possible.
I really don't think Kemp will be with us long term, but I don't know.
I don't think so
I
either.
think the general consensus is Kemp might be used as
Bait.
for
Yep.
a big time pitcher.
Yep.
It's
And
possible.
I've seen the talks with Dallas Keuchel have subsided a little bit, but they're still talking about Sonny Gray with the Yankees. Mm-hmm. So he seems to be the latest top
and
target.
the Indians are still Bauer, Kluber stuff is still out there. Are they going to deal any of those guys?
Right.
I mean, both the first trade the Reds made, the Roark one, came out of nowhere. There have been no rumors on that. The other one had been rumored, and then it sort of like died out, and like, oh, that's not going to happen. And then bang, all of a sudden, one day it happened. So we did a Twitter poll, and we had 36 respondents to our Twitter poll. Which new Reds player are you most excited to have in 2019? So of our 36 respondents, 72% chose Yasiel Puig. 25% chose Alex Wood, 3% Tanner Roark, and a big goose egg for Matt Kemp, which isn't surprising. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting that everything's been hashtag get the pitching, and then as soon as we make a deal, we're more excited about Yasiel Puig. I mean, he's an exciting guy. I mean, he's fun.
Name
recognition. People know the name. People are like, who's Alex Wood? Didn't he used to pitch for us? Oh no, that was Travis Wood.
Yeah, that happened.
You know,
who's also a lefty.
And who's Tanner Roark? I mean, people know who Scherzer are and Strasburg and maybe Gio Gonzalez with the Nats, but nobody knows who Tanner Roark is.
Yeah, Kemp had you take out the last 6 weeks, and it reminds me of Adam Duvall, but you take out the last 6 weeks, and Kemp had a really good year last year.
Oh, yeah.
In a platoon or a DH situation, he would.
Yeah, he made the All-Star. He made the All-Star game. He had such a good first half.
Yeah,
I mean, he's 34. So, all right. So I got some stuff here on the new guys, and we can talk through some things here. Tanner Roark last year. Well, he's 32. He's either just turned 32 or he's going to. I put down an age for what they'll basically be during the season. So. He was a 25th round pick in 2008. He had a 3.4 WAR last year based on Baseball Reference. I did not look at Fangraph's WAR number. It's a little different because they don't figure it the same way. In his career, he's averaged 196 innings a season, which is nice, even though he didn't hit that last year. Baseball,
still 180.
Yeah. His career ERA is 3.59. His seasons as a starter, I didn't include his first year. He started and relieved a few times, probably had 20 appearances. I didn't count that one. But since then, 285, 438, 283, 467, 434. He was, last year after the break, his ERA was like 343. Yeah. So he finished well. He was very up and down last year, and I know that because I had him on my fantasy team. I had a horrible pitching staff on my fantasy baseball team because I had Homer Bailey too. And so he was so up and down. Like I had him in my lineup. He got shelled a couple times. I put him down and he pitched well. I could never find him on the right time. In the second half though, he was, like I said, 11 starts after the All-Star break and he had a 3.43 ERA. So that was good. So he's joining. Why did we have to get the pitching? Well, last year the Reds were in the National League, next to last in ERA for starters. Starting pitchers had a 5.02 ERA, which was next to last. Opposing batting average was 274, which was next to last. They gave up the most
homers. Yeah.
Gave up the most home runs, 151, and opposition OPS numbers were 804, which was dead last in the National League. So they gave it the most homers, the highest OPS, next to highest batting average, and they had the next to highest ERA as a starting. Well, I'm just saying that's why.
Why are you bringing up ancient history, Jeff?
Because this is why we did this. So are Tanner Roark with those numbers and Alex Wood going to help? And obviously they can. It's an improvement no matter what they do. And what's been one of the big selling points, I think, on trying to find pitchers has been like get the ground ball guys, right? Mm-hmm. Guys that don't give up a lot of home runs. So in his career, Roark has only allowed 0.9 home runs per 9 innings. And Alex Wood, who is 28, he was a second-round pick in 12. He came up with the Braves. Pitched for the Braves for 2-3 years, and the Dodgers traded him to the Dodgers. His career ERA is 3.29, and he's been over 150 innings the past 2 years. And his home runs per 9 innings average is 0.8.
Wow. So
the Reds, contrast that with the Reds of last year, which is why I'm doing this. I'm bringing up ancient history just to show how good these guys might be. 1.4 home runs per 9 innings, the Reds last year. And that's all pitchers, not just starters. Last year's top 6 starters, though, averaged all between 1.4 and 1.9 home runs per 9 innings. The 6 guys that made the most starts. So Castillo, Molly, DeSclafani, Romano,
Harvey.
Bailey, and Harvey. Those 6 guys all gave up 1.4 to 1.9 home runs per 9 innings. as a team, they were second worst to only the Orioles in Major League Baseball, 1.42. And the Cardinals were the best at .89. So you can see that's a pretty big divide. That's over half a home run a game. So, and of course their team ERA was 7th worst in the majors and 2nd worst in the NL. Figuring, American League has a DH, so some teams are going to have higher ERAs over there. So back to that ground ball percentage thing, which I think is interesting. It doesn't always equate with, oh, you're a good pitcher because you only give up ground balls. If they're all rockets, you're going to give up a lot of hits, right? The Reds were 7th best at that in baseball. The D-backs were the best, 44.4%. The Reds. Wood is a 49.2%. He was the 7th best among NL starters, who threw over 140 innings. And Roark was at 40.8. He was 33rd best, but still within that ballpark figure of what the Reds were. So looks to be improving on all those things, and that's why they're going after Keuchel, because he was the best guy in the American League. He was the 3rd best guy in the American League at ground ball percentage, only behind Chris Sale and Trevor Bauer. And Bauer's a guy that has come up in possible trade talks for the Reds, is why they're looking at him. And then there's Sonny Gray out there, who's been on the thing lately. We've heard rumors about starting to die down again, which means maybe something's going to happen. Who knows? And he's not a bad ground ball guy either.
And he pitches much better outside of Yankee Stadium.
Yeah.
Some guys are not cut for New York.
Yeah, something about it.
I.e. Jay Bruce.
Yeah. So, they're moving in there. There's obviously a type of pitcher they're looking for. It's kind of what my long way of getting around to this is. They're looking for guys. We've heard that talk based on the guys they've been looking at. We've been hearing rumors about and the guys they've gotten. They want guys that can keep the ball in the ballpark. And
well, to be honest, though, most of the top starters are all that way.
Yeah. They don't give up a ton.
Yeah.
But then a guy like Scherzer, we talk about, like, I was noticing when I was pulling the stats, like, oh, ground ball, that's great. Scherzer's got, like, the worst rate in baseball for that. Or like last year, at least in the National League, among starters, he was only like 30-some%.
So he's high on other areas.
He's high in other areas.
Strikeouts.
Strikeouts. He's really high. So when you strike out more guys, you can afford to give up more fly balls, and guys will get a homer off of him now and then. But guess what? There's hardly ever anybody on base.
Right.
So
the old Tom Browning.
Yeah. So that works that way sometimes for you. So anyway, those are the new pitchers. So now we're looking at a possible, with who we have, right? We're looking at a possible rotation of certainly Roark and Wood and Castillo and DeSclafani.
And the fifth guy is Molly.
It could be Molly if he's healthy and looks good. And he's so young. I think he's still going to get a great shot at it. I think he gets a shot ahead of Romano.
Yeah.
And Stevenson and any of those other guys that we've heard about. Are we happy with that 5 for this year, or do we say, you guys should do whatever you can to add one more guy? What do you think?
Well, I guess the big question is, are these added guys better than, will their stats be better than if Castillo and Molly and those guys progress? And frankly, if they progress to the next step, it'll probably be about the same as these guys.
Right, we'd have if we had 5 starters that all had an ERA of about 3, average about in the high 3s somewhere. If our starting, because last year was 5.02, what if that comes down to around 4 or a little under? If they progress and these guys pitch as normal, that's about where we'll be.
That's about everybody. Well, I guess my point was, if the guys we already have progress to the next level, that's even with these guys.
Yeah.
How much have we really gained?
Well, you've gained.
You have gained.
You haven't become a World Series contender.
Right.
But you've probably become possibly a playoff contender.
Yeah, borderline playoff. I think you throw in a guy that, if you can throw somebody out there every 5 days that is going to give you, 2 or less runs for 7 innings, 6 or 7 innings, now you're a playoff contender. Right.
Right. And does one of these guys have one of those kind of years, which you don't know?
Right.
Or which, you could hope for that, but you can't bank on it. In
every podcast, I have to say, hope is not a strategy.
Well, I know. We've all said that. So, that's kind of where we are now. Right now,
Where we are now, you're right.
With the 5 we have,
You're
we're
right.
kind of like hoping one of these guys
You're
really
right.
is a stud.
You're right.
You know, is a guy come All-Star break that is in the conversation for starting that game. Now, obviously, if you go get another guy like a Keuchel or a Gray or somebody like that, you increase your chances of having a guy have that kind of season just because you got one more guy
Although
in there.
Sonny
who's
Gray is
done-
not a number one. He's a
Probably
2 or
not.
3.
Probably not.
A
But-
Kluber or a Dallas Keuchel, they're clear number ones.
Yeah, I agree that they could definitely do that, particularly Kluber. So the question becomes then, what are you willing to give up?
Well, Keuchel, you don't have to give up anything. He's free agent.
That's right.
Yeah, I can't see him wanting to come to the Reds.
I don't know.
All things being equal, I agree. But who's to say if the Reds don't overspend on him and say, okay, I'll do this? Well, you know, Tom, you have brought out pitching, and rightfully so. But the Mets have had pitching, some good pitching. Look where they are.
They have.
So we have to say, don't forget about the offense. And so as we're talking about if these young pitchers from the Reds improve to where they get to the level of Roark and Wood, okay, that helps us. But don't forget, you also have improved offensively. And I just, I say this.
But Kim, weren't we good enough to make the playoffs last year offensively?
Nope.
I don't think so.
I think we were.
I don't.
I think
All
that
right,
the pitching was
let-
really, really, really good.
A couple of things
Best
that
in the
we don't
league.
think about, we haven't talked about. Hitting, leadoff hitter. Who do we have? And I've been seeing a lot of people saying Winker. Well, if y'all remember last year, Winker really took off when they put him in like the 5 hole. But listen to this. I'm seeing quite a few projected lineups omitting Jesse Winker. Reminder, Winker posted a .405 OBP last season and slashed 349, 460, 541 over his final 177 plate appearances. Okay? If we can get him a full year, and they're talking about now, for the first time in many years, he's going to be healthy. I did not know that he wasn't healthy. Obviously the shoulder wasn't good, and his wrist wasn't good either. 2, what about leadoff? If Peraza hits the way he did over his last 480 plate appearances, we talk about the importance of sample size. I think we probably all agree that's a good sample size.
Yeah, because he had over 600
He
bats
hit
last year.
304, 347, 453. I'm fine with him leading off.
Yeah.
So am I.
I
And
think
so
he's the
Kim-
logical guy to lead
so
off
if
at this
we-
point.
I'm not convinced we're going to be able to land a true number one. I'm not. So if we can get a Sonny Gray type pitcher or someone who's an improvement over what we've had, put it together with an improved lineup on the field every day, and to throw Senzel in there somewhere, I think our chances of wild card are realistic. Having said that, on December the 28th or whatever it is,
Jeff, you knew he'd get the Winker stuff in.
Well, yeah, and I'm prepared.
and I'm not the only one. Twitterverse is like, do not get rid of Winker.
I actually think Winker would be a good number 2 hitter, too. Because
Yeah,
you give him
I
that
think
hole
I
by first base when somebody
I
when
think
Peraza's on
I
first.
think Winker belongs to the top of the lineup.
Yeah.
I just say this.
We got enough
him and
guys getting in
Votto
the
back to back with their foot speed.
Well,
Yeah.
I
hey,
just like,
We're not building. Not building it.
We're certainly
we
not.
traded for Yasiel Puig. We ain't building for speed. We're
but if
building
you
for
have
power in that
a
park,
Winker
which I think we
behind
need to
a
do.
Yasiel Puig, who is behind a Votto, who is behind. I mean, let's just put it this way: I'm excited about the prospects
Right.
of our lineup, like I have not been, if we stay healthy. And so, if we don't get a Keuchel, if we don't get a Kluber, and I'm not banking on it, but if we get a Sonny Gray type pitcher, I think just getting another Gray makes your pitchers better, and then you put together our offense is better, so that's less stress on our pitcher. It's like in football. The best offense is a good defense, and vice versa.
Right.
I just think it can only improve our team, and our team has a lot of space to improve.
All right. So the leadoff question is a good one. I mean, it's as important as figuring out who's going to play center field. But if you just took some numbers, you looked at Peraza, that after his start. Doesn't mean, that's a big sample size, but those other 200 at bats still have to happen. The first 200 at bats still have to happen next season. Doesn't mean he will hit 305 next year. Doesn't mean that he still won't have 200 at bats somewhere that aren't so good. I mean, guys go up and down, right? So, with that, I'm not trying to burst that bubble, but
you failed.
Well, I failed. So, if you want to, which of these two guys should get more at bats? 405 OBP versus 326 OBP. Strikes out 13% of the time versus 11% of the time. You could obviously say the 11%. Walks 14% of the time versus 4% of the time. Has a WRC plus of 128 versus 97.
I'm lost.
Has a WOBA of 366 versus 319. Has an 836 OPS versus a 742 OPS. Has a 299 batting average versus a 288 batting average. So, if those are the kind of numbers you're going to get this year, the one with the 405 OBP, who walks more, who has the other higher production numbers, even though he had about half as many at bats last year, is Winker.
Now, before you finish, do you add speed into the mix? Do you add stolen base? Why not?
I don't care.
Why not?
What did it do? What good did that do us with Billy
So
Hamilton?
I'm just saying.
In new
Major League Baseball, speed is not a...
It doesn't matter.
Peraza this past year versus Peraza the year before. Improvement?
Yes.
Tremendous.
Exactly. Now, let me finish.
Go ahead.
Peraza, I think, can still improve.
Oh, sure.
And so if we continue to see that improvement in his game, and you talked about, I'm taking it, Peraza was the 11%. Even if he wasn't, and he's the 13%, that's great. He hardly ever struck out.
No, but
his walks 2 years ago, remember he went something like a ridiculous 300-400 times at bats without a walk, and his first walk was an intentional walk against the Padres in San Diego. But this past year, his eye was much better. I think if he continues to improve with his foot speed, he had 20-something stolen bases. Not great, but with the Reds, other than Hamilton, we've had nothing. I think he warrants that leadoff spot to start the season.
I'm not saying Peraza would be a bad leadoff hitter. I just think Winker would be a better one. I don't think speed matters as much anymore. They're building this lineup for power. Speed hadn't done us any good. Billy didn't do us any good.
No, Billy couldn't get on base.
Right, couldn't get on base, so it didn't do us any good. He still stole more bases than when Peraza does.
Yeah,
getting on base. So I don't know that. I'm like, I don't know how much that matters. It might. I also think a guy in the batting seventh who steals in front of guys who aren't power hitters, getting in a scoring position, is maybe be good
after
too.
This podcast, it'd be interesting to see if we could find the numbers of Winker's productivity or his stats from the leadoff hole.
Oh well, but see, that was earlier in the year. So who's to say he can't be good?
So was
next
Peraza's bad at bats.
Right. So I mean, I think there's still something to be figured out. I'm just saying, based on some numbers I see, it's kind of a toss up a little bit. I don't think. I just want a guy. I think the guy who's going to be more productive, get on base more, is a guy you want getting more at bats.
Well, that's baseball 101.
So wouldn't that be Votto historically?
Well,
baseball 101 is your best three hitters.
Historically,
your first three
I don't. Yeah, your first three guys. So why can't they bat 1-2? They could bat 1-2.
You could argue you could put Votto. You could put Votto second and Suarez third.
Yeah, or you could bat these guys 1-2.
And we haven't mentioned Scooter Gennett, who can hit.
Scooter's still a middle of the order guy.
Suarez, we haven't.
Here's the thing I like about Winker over Winker. Anybody can go in a hitting slump. Winker is still going to get on base more, even if he's slumping a little bit.
Because of his eye.
Because of his eye, he's going to get on base more. Because even if Peraza walks more this year, he's still not going to walk as much as Winker.
Probably not, and that's a good point.
So it's a little more slump proof to have a guy up there who gets on base and walks that much.
Well, then you could put Peraza at 9.
Well, I don't like that.
Me either.
I don't really. I just don't. I think that was.
Well,
I think that was like, Billy, get your act together.
Based
more
on
than
what you
anything
just
else.
said, then Votto's our leadoff hitter.
No, I don't mean that. I mean,
But
I'm
if
talking
you're
top
talking
of the.
about slump-proof,
I'm talking about guys in the top part of the order versus the bottom part of the order. I would rather see Winker batting in the top 3 than in the middle to the bottom, like 6th. I think I'd rather see him bat 1 or 2 versus 6. I can handle Peraza batting 7th. That's what I don't necessarily mean 1. I just mean
okay.
But I could live with Peraza Winker batting 1, 2, or vice versa.
I did not know about his bad shoulder. I don't know if you guys did it. And last night I was reading something. Evidently he's had a bad wrist as well.
Yeah.
So if that's true, and he comes and he's hit the long ball much better than he did the minors.
Yeah. Well, and then Peraza did that last year too, which was a shock.
So hopefully Winker can continue to improve and do all that we saw him do last year. And be healthy and go long, and then absolutely, he would be a guy you'd want to be, at worst a 2 to 3 hitter.
So you got the other thing is, and I see your point too. Winker excelled when they moved him down. I get that, but then you start looking at the rest of the lineup. Okay, Votto's 3rd. Then who are your middle of the order guys? You've got Suarez. You've got Jeanette. You've got Puig.
Mm-hmm.
None of those guys are batting in the top 1 or 2 spots.
No.
So Winker's, where do you put? You can't. It makes more sense to have Winker there versus a Puig up there. I don't want Jeanette
I'll try to answer
there.
your question. I haven't thought about this. Peraza, let's say Peraza leadoff, Votto in the 2 hole, Suarez in the 3 hole, Puig in the 4 hole, Winker in the 5 hole. That's
as low as I'd want to see Winker bat.
Agreed.
I wouldn't want to see him any lower than that.
And again, like I say, if he comes in and that shoulder and that wrist is so healthy that he's putting up stuff numbers we haven't seen, then yes, absolutely the 3 hole I think would be appropriate.
What do you think are that?
I'm not ready to say Winker's a 3-hole hitter. We don't have enough sample size for that.
And what are you?
That's true.
It's true. Votto getting moved in the order. How does that? I know Joey is a team player, but and guys will make changes and say, "I'll do it for the team." Does it change him? Would it change his approach? Would it change his mental side of things? He's been batting 3rd practically all his life. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how much that matters to him. Does that matter to him? Does he feel like you don't think I'm who I used to be?
I'm not appreciated
as much. You're going to move me to the 2 spot versus the 3, or you're going to move me to the 5 spot, or something like that. Does that, I don't know.
And
that's a touchy little ego
the
thing.
Unknown and the known about Joey Votto. The unknown is we don't know what's going to happen, right? The known is he goes in the off season and he prepares and he works on deficiencies from the year before.
Yeah. But he ain't getting any younger. But he ain't getting any younger either.
Did you see the interview with him this past year?
Yeah.
I'm working on everything. And I'm working, and he's serious. I'm working on everything.
But he's not getting any younger.
Agreed. Here's what I'd like. I'd like for him to figure out early in the season than waiting to get hot. 2 years ago he didn't do anything till June. The past 2 years it's been May. I'd love to see him. That's what spring training's for. Figure it out there.
Yeah.
But good point. Good.
I mean, even when Joey's not hitting, he's still getting on base.
If he went to the 5 hole,
and that's kind of what I'm thinking about Winker. Even if he's not hitting, he's getting on base.
That's why I don't want those two. Maybe have a person or two between those two.
So who's the Reds' 3 best hitters? Bob on the 9, 2 outs. What 3 guys do you want?
Votto, Suarez, Jeanette.
Well,
based on the last 2 seasons.
Then you could argue those guys should be all in the top 4 hitters. Because the way the lineup turns around in the 8th and 9th inning, those top guys do come up. That's why you put your top hitters at the top.
Yeah, I agree.
So if you don't want Peraza over one of those 3,
I think you throw in Winker with an asterisk on that because Winker
not
has
enough sample size.
Well, the asterisk is
the asterisk is the reason being because he wasn't there the year before, and this past year his season was cut short.
Right.
But you just look at the small sample size; he was up there. And so that's why I don't think you can easily discard Winker. I may be wrong, but I would.
Yeah, you don't. Yeah, let's face it. This season is about. They've done things to say we want to be better this year. They've made moves to do that. I don't think any of these moves have put us in a position to think, oh my gosh, they're going to the World Series. I don't think we think that. It's not impossible, but we don't think that. So I think you can still. I think there's still some experimentation going on with, because there's still enough youngness to this lineup. There's still some experiment.
What would take us to the World Series? Obviously, a number one.
A number one pitcher.
Yeah.
Is that it? We need Votto to be Votto.
Votto needs to be Votto, and guys have to.
Gannett needs to have a year like he has last year.
Yes, and a Winker needs to keep.
And Suarez
improving.
needs to have a year like he had last year.
Suarez needs to be good again. Peraza needs to keep showing he can do that. The defense has to be a little better up the middle.
No, a lot better.
Oh, well, a lot better. The defense has to be a lot better up the middle.
Don't you agree?
Yes,
has to be a lot.
Has to be a lot. Which I think is.
Which I think EVPs. You were kind not to mention that.
Which I think is, the one name getting left out of this that they still want to see what he can do is Senzel.
Right.
And I think that that's a reason why you could see if they are convinced that Nick Senzel is a bona fide major league hitter, even though they haven't seen
Jeanette, they're going to put him in center field. Or
they might move Jeanette.
If they could deal Peraza or Jeanette for a starter.
Well, he's not going to play shortstop.
I don't see them dealing.
Move Suarez to short.
They're not going to do that.
He came up as a shortstop.
Well, and there's a reason
why
he's at third base. There's a reason why he's probably
shortstop.
playing third base now, even though he came up as a lot of guys come up as shortstops. Jeter Downs was drafted.
Kevin Mitchell. Remember Kevin Mitchell?
Yeah. Jeter Downs was drafted shortstop,
yeah.
But I saw him play a lot at Dayton last year, and I'm like, that guy's a second baseman. Because the guy they had, the Cuban kid they had, Garcia, had more range, better arm, looked in the field like a major league shortstop from just the talent perspective. Yeah, he made errors, he made mistakes, like a lot of guys in A-ball do. But he looked much more the part at shortstop than Downs did, which is the reason I think they were okay with letting Downs go in that Dodger trade, because I think he's a second baseman, and we got plenty of those, and you can always find a second baseman. So it feels like.
All right, so you guys at the Brain Trust, do you hold Senzel out for 3 weeks and then bring him up?
If I think he can start opening day and contribute, no. I don't worry about 6 years from now.
If he can start.
Yeah, that's the key, because
if you're going to put him in the starting lineup, yes.
I have a feeling he's not ready to start.
All right, so let's say we don't trade Scooter. Okay? You don't trade Scooter. The only spot for Senzel, realistically, I think, is center field. Yeah. I know how Tom feels about it. Tom's going to say, no, that's too much to learn. I think that's shortstop. Okay.
Give him a half a year in the minors at center field before you bring him up.
I don't know. We've seen he's been playing all winter there, and he's going to play spring training there. Has
been playing in center field in the winter?
Yeah. My understanding. When we say playing in center field, what does that mean? Is there a league that he's playing in, or is he just taking reps all the time? Yeah.
Yeah. It's to be determined. I mean, I think that's one of the great questions that we have going forward.
All right, let me ask you this: if you can trade Scooter Jeanette and someone who is not a high level prospect for Sonny Gray,
they'll want more than that. But
who's they? The Yankees?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not giving the Yankees. They rate this for Aroldis Chapman. I'm not giving.
He's still bitter.
I am.
Well,
that was a stupid move.
Well, that was on us. I don't blame the Yankees for that, because
that was a good deal for them.
That's what I'm saying. The Reds ownership, they blew that one.
Well,
but do you give up Scooter and someone else that's not a high level prospect for Gray?
Yes.
Jeff?
I would.
Okay.
Probably. Knowing if I felt like that means you're trusting a Nick Senzel to step in and be a good player.
Right.
Yep.
That means you're trusting that.
Yep.
If you believe that he can step in, maybe not have the year Scooter's had the last 2 years. That would be it. That would be like
that would be unbelievable.
That would be Rookie of the Year and MVP candidate, because even though Scooter never really got serious consideration for MVP stuff, because like I don't know, he's Scooter, but if a rookie comes in and plays like that, everybody's gaga.
So we really don't know about Nick Senzel.
We don't.
We don't know what he looks like in AAA. We don't know where his health is.
He's hit at every level. He's hit at every level, and he's performed at every level. So just based on that,
how did he do at AAA?
He did very well when he was not on the disabled list because of vertigo and the wrist injury.
Well, I can tell you right now. I pull up his stats. Last year at Louisville, he played in 44 games.
Ugh.
He batted .310. He had an OBP of 378. He slugged .509. His OPS was 887. Good numbers. He hit 6 homers in 171 at bats. Drove in 25 runs. Stole 8 bases. Had 19 walks. Struck out 39 times. I don't have the percentages there, but
That high, it seems like a lot of strikeouts. But if he was having the vertigo thing go on,
yeah. Well, I mean, I think that
And the
strikes you one day and out of nowhere. I don't think he ever played under that. His career minor league batting average is .314. His career minor league base percentage is .390. In 17. He batted .305 at Daytona. They moved him up in 62 games. They moved him up to Pensacola in Double-A, and he batted in 57 games. He batted .340.
Yeah, it's probably his best year.
Yeah, and his on base percentage was over .400. So I mean, he's never
He's performed at every
he's
level.
performed at every level. The only bad number he has is his first 10 games at Billings when he batted .152, and they said we're moving, and they only put him there for a little while.
It's cold in Montana.
You've been there. And they only put him there for a little while just to get him in shape a little bit, get him used to pro ball for a couple weeks, and they shipped him right up to Dayton, and he batted .329 in 58 games to finish that season. So, I mean, other than that initial stop, he's batted over .300 everywhere he's been. Now, I know that's not the only way to measure a hitter, but it's a quick look and say, yeah, the guy can hit. Mm-hmm. And I saw him play. I mean, he looked more than good enough in the field. And
Third base?
he played third. He was playing third that year. When he hit the ball hard. He just, you can't, it's not, there's some guys who surprise you and get to the majors. You're like, he didn't really look like he'd make the majors, but he did. But usually he's not anybody that's all that great.
Yeah.
But when you see guys at single A and you think that guy looks like a major leaguer, they usually turn out pretty good. And that's just the kind of guy he looked like. He just like, you watch a high school team play, you're like, that kid can play in college.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what his stats are, you just watch him play and the way he moves and the way he swings the bat, and you watch Senzel do that, and you're like, that guy's got a really good shot. Siri swung the bat like that there. Trammell looked like that there. Jeter Downs looks like that a little bit at second base. Garcia, who played shortstop last year, I think has that look about him like that's a prospect.
We're expecting Jonathan India to be that guy.
And he looked like that. I saw him play a couple days, and he had that little more of a, he's not very big, but he can hit the ball a long way. He's got a good stroke, and he just the way they carry them, you just see that. And Senzel looks like that kind of guy. He's going to get a shot. He's going to be a good major leaguer. I don't know if he's ever an all-star or not. That's a heavy thing to put on a kid, but I think he's done enough at these levels that you have to give him a chance and see if he can do it. Doesn't mean he'll be great. He might have 3 or 4 good seasons and not be any good. He might be Chris Sabo next year. I mean, you know what I'm saying? He could be. He could be that. I mean, and anywhere in between. But I think you got to give him a chance, and I think you don't invest that much in a guy and not give him a chance to see if he can do it. So we'll see. No guarantees, but he's got upside, let me tell you, for sure. So
let me ask you, you trade Senzel and someone for Kluber. I'm going to go through the formality of asking Tom. Tom?
Would I do it?
Yes.
In a New York minute.
yeah,
Jeff?
Senzel in that deal for Kluber, maybe.
That's not an answer.
That's my answer.
You gotta say yes or no.
No, that's my answer.
And see, my answer is no.
His answer is no.
And that's what we're facing. So that's why I just don't see us getting. I think Keuchel's our best chance, and you pointed out why would he want to come to Cincinnati. You're going to have to pay him a lot of bucks, I get it, and hope that a Votto, a Suarez, a Senzel, a Puig is going to be a draw. But I just don't see us getting a number one pitcher.
Well, I think every day that passes is another day that we have I think that increases our chance of getting him.
That increases it?
Yeah, I do. Because I think
no one else is.
Nobody else has stepped up to the plate, so to speak, that big yet. And the Reds have done other things to say, we're trying to be good, and that might be... Now, he could go... The Astros did extend a qualifying offer to him. I don't know that he'll go back there, but he could if the Astros decide they want to keep him. But they haven't really seemed to act like they want to keep him too much. You make the qualifying offer because if he signs somewhere else, you get compensatory picks, which is another thing about what the Reds, with all these... That's another thing. They gave up Jeter Downs and Josiah Gray to get these guys to do this trade. So, because we're trading contracts here, we're not really trading people. So,
it's like hope is not a strategy.
We're trading contracts. So that means, okay, there's these 4 guys we've gotten in trades who might all walk next year. We extend any qualifying offers to those guys, and they go somewhere else. We get those high level compensatory picks. And we get Jeter Downs and Josiah Gray back. Not those guys specifically, but we get guys back who are that level of player. And that's what we get back. So it's win-win. It's win-win-win. I mean, it's a win for now. It's a win if you keep them. And if you make a qualifying offer, it's a win then because you get picks back. Mm-hmm. You don't have to deal with all 4 guys because the qualifying offers usually this year was almost $18 million. So, which means if you make that qualifying offer, and they take it, you have to pay them at least that much. You can't come back and negotiate it down to 12. That's what you got them for. That's what it is. So, anyway, so I think it's good strategy on their part to make. I mean, plus we got bye to Homer, and we don't have to talk about him anymore.
Well, okay, Kim, you said earlier. What are we missing to go to the World Series? Number one.
Did I say the World Series or playoffs?
World Series.
Okay.
And then you say you're not willing to give up Senzel to get a number one. So if you're GM, I'm saying you're not really trying to build us to go to the World Series. That's what I would say. That would be my in-your-face.
All right. I just don't see us landing a number one. I don't.
I see us trading for one. I don't see us getting a free agent. Too much money, and we're not the right place.
So you threw it in my face. Here's what I would do. I would overspend for Keuchel.
I would too.
I would overspend for Keuchel. That way you don't give up Senzel. You can still trade Scooter for whomever because you got Senzel to slot in there. And then you've got Trammell, and you've got Siri, and you've got India back coming up in the next 24 months. But I would overspend on those guys because then by 4 to 5 years from now, guess what? Votto's going to be off the payroll.
Has a Cincinnati Reds owner ever overspent on a free agent?
But
small market team.
Go back to the focus. You put it on me. That's what I would do, and I would say, okay, because I'm pointing to him. Jeff made a great point about the fact that forget this being a small market. The money is there, and when Jeff pointed that article out, it's like
no, but that wasn't valid.
I think there's some validity there.
I think there is some validity.
Look at it that way.
With some of the money that they got, I know that those values are based on
you can't
profit.
Go on the value.
Yeah, but if the value keeps going up, there's got to be.
So what do you go on, Tom?
There's got to be. Well, doesn't profit indicate value a little bit?
Revenue, value is a multiple of your revenue.
Right. So, but there was a couple things in there that where they got some money outside of normal revenue that they have to spend. That was a couple points in the article. Some of the other, I can't remember the details of it, but there was other money that was coming in. It was like $50 million they got through some kind of other deal, some other thing that happened.
Like a Fox Sports contract or something like that?
Yes, something like that. So there's this money. There's like a
pool of money.
There's a slush fund, so to speak.
And aren't these owners generally, don't they have their hands in other venues as well?
Ventures, yeah.
Yes. And so General
Castlevania
says,
is
okay,
fruit-
I'm going to lose
fruit
money
delivery.
here on my baseball team. That's going to be a tax write-off anyway, but I have steady income coming in here. I would overpay for Keiko.
We're all making a lot of assumptions there
Well,
on the amount of
well,
money.
I have to. I have
they
to.
also said they had it to spend and they were going to spend more. They didn't say how much more.
Right.
And right now the payroll as today is higher than last year.
Well, listen,
But
I'm with you.
I think there's room to go higher.
I'm with you. If I got unlimited money, why would I trade anybody? I'm just going to buy people. I don't think that's realistic.
I didn't say we had unlimited money. I'm just saying, with the small market area and how the Reds have been, and to get us on the footsteps of serious discussion and playoff contention, I do think it takes a number one, and I do not want to give up our assets, and so I go after the free agent route.
And I
If
think
you got the money.
if
Yes.
you can overpay and not ruin yourself, and you can overpay a little bit. The problem with Scooter is it's a supply and demand issue. There's
Yes.
plenty of a supply of second baseman, and there's not a lot of demand. So that's the problem is he can only play one position, and he doesn't even play it that great. So you know my answer for that.
I
So,
know. What's an incomplete league with incomplete players?
yeah. So at any rate, so let's look at Puig. Just turned 28. Career slash line of 279, 353, 478.
279.
Yeah.
Kim, is that acceptable?
Yes, that's acceptable. 353 on base, 478 slugging. He's 28. So, Baseball Reference, if you scroll way down the page on a guy, they'll give you like these similarity scores to other players. So, through age 27, he scores similarly in these numbers to Larry Walker,
Ooh, the cat.
Jermaine Dye, Rondell White, Danny Tartable, Leon Durham, Hunter Pence, Torrey Hunter, Tony Perez, Cal Daniels, guys like that. So that's the kind of player he is, has been through age 27.
With a rocket arm.
With a rocket
And
arm.
His buddy is the Reds hitting coach now,
Yes, and
which is a key.
he loves Turner Ward. Kemp just turned 34. His career slash line is 286, 338, 487. Similar guys through age 33 of their careers. Here's one that takes you back. Reggie Smith. Carlos Beltran, Ryan Zimmerman, Tony Perez.
Carlos Beltran.
Andre Dawson, Bobby Bonilla, Dave Winfield, George Bell. Guys like that. So that's the kind of numbers he's put up. Now, he doesn't move as well anymore. He was healthier last year until something happened there mid-season. He wasn't quite as healthy, and that's the guy people are like, maybe we flip him. But what's wrong with an outfield of? Senzel. There's 5 guys right now potentially outfield: Schebler, Winker, Senzel, because of what we've been hearing about working out as a center fielder, and then Puig and Kemp. That's 5 guys as outfielders. You're not going to keep nobody keeps 5 outfielders, do they? You basically keep 4. Now,
Unless one's a utility.
yeah, unless one's a utility. And the only guy at that group who could be a utility guy based on positions he can play is Senzel. And maybe Senzel is sort of a half-time player as a rookie, seeing if he can do it, and they go that route, where he can play some second base and he can play some center field, and they do that with him. If not, if Kemp stays as a 4th outfielder, what's his use? How do we use him?
He's a lefty.
Yes.
So
I think he
he bats lefty, doesn't he?
can you look that up? I can't remember.
I think he bats right.
Is he a righty? It'd be better if he was a righty.
Yes.
Because we already have.
Yeah,
Yes.
because we've got so
I
much
thought
of
he was a
that.
lefty. I'm sorry.
Bats right. So
Okay.
so
You
Kemp,
keep 2 lefties and 2 righties.
so how does Kemp get used? Okay, he's a really good right-handed hitter, right? And who's our left-handed hitters? Schebler and Winker. So you don't play him at Coors Field because he can't cover the outfield very well.
Right.
But he can play it. He can play left field for you at Great American on occasion in smaller parks. When you're facing the great left-hander, he probably plays.
Well, here's another
Yes.
factor.
You
though.
know,
Yes.
because Winker's not going to play 162 games.
But here's
Right.
another factor, Jeff,
Agreed.
is who can play center field.
Well,
You only
that's
got two guys, Shebler and Puig,
and
that can
Puig,
play.
right,
I mean, we're
Both
assuming Senzel's
Both
not.
have played it in very limited fashion.
right.
Yeah.
But Puig's a right-handed hitter, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Shebler's a left-handed hitter, and so they can. I mean, last year we tried this 4 outfield thing, and a lot of it was
Injuries helped us.
Injuries kind of ruined
But
that
you have
idea.
to play a 4 outfield.
You gotta-
Somebody's going to get hurt.
Somebody's going to get hurt, and so it's. I'm at this point. I'm in favor of keeping him unless I can.
Him being Kemp.
I'm in favor of keeping him as my 4th guy because that's a lot better than Mason Williams or Phillip Ervin or
Oh, no doubt.
that's a lot better than guys like that. That's what we've always been. Who's our 4th outfielder? Well, some guy who got to AAA, and we're going to give him a shot. I don't know who he is. That's our 4th outfielder. I'd rather it be a guy like him, at least for a year.
Well, once
do
again,
that.
if I have unlimited money, I keep him.
Well,
If I need him to get a pitcher, I trade him.
I mean, we could trade his contract, I guess, before the season starts. But if you do that, because he's like $21 million, isn't he? So if you trade him, does that give you that money to sign Keuchel? I don't know. I think they're waiting. I think they're willing to make another trade, the Sonny Gray deal, the whatever. But I gotta think they're probably waiting to see what Keuchel does. I think when Keuchel makes a decision,
The dominoes fall.
that's what happens. That's what happens. So we'll see. So I had a interesting thought. Once in a while I get one. I thought about Reds turnarounds. The 1961 Reds won 93 games, went to the World Series, and lost to the Yankees. What did the 1960 Reds do? They were 67 and 87. So they went from 67 and 87 to 93 wins and going to the World Series, winning the National League. The 1971 Reds, they had been to the World Series in 70. Mm-hmm. The 71 Reds were not very good. They went 79 and 83. Next year, they win the National League and go lose to the A's in the World Series. We all know about the 90 Reds, what they did. Wire to wire, won the World Series. The 89 Reds, now before that, like from 85 to 88, they were second place. Remember, Rose came back and they kept finishing second, and then 89 was a mess, and they went 75 and 87. Next year they win the World Series. So, of course, the 75-76 Reds were coming off good seasons. But other than those two, the last 3 World Series teams that the Reds have had outside of the 75-76 teams were all coming off losing seasons. I'm not here predicting we're going to the World Series next year.
That is interesting.
But the point is,
you would have thought maybe second place or something. So that's interesting.
You can bounce if you make some key things happen. You can get better pretty
Especially in
quick.
this day and age of free agency. Much
You-
more than
you
it was
can
in
get-
that 60-61 year.
Yeah, you can get better pretty quick. And those teams had good starting pitching. I looked at it; they had some good. They had 2 or 3 really good starters that year. So, what does it take? That obviously this team needs to get healthy on pitching. So, so we raised the question earlier. I raised the question earlier too about the pitchers. Okay, yeah, none of these guys have been a number one before, but a lot of times in baseball, a guy has a number one type of season that you're not expecting, right?
Right.
It's like, and it might be the only time he ever really has that season in his career, but man, he has it once in a while. So, my throwback pitcher, the Reds acquired him, and it was the year they got him. They acquired him in November of '87 in a trade, and he finished second in the Cy Young voting in 1988.
Only because of Hershiser's strong finish that
right.
I think he did not win the Cy Young.
Right, and that's Danny Jackson. Danny Jackson never had another year like 1988. Never. Okay? He and Hershiser both went 23-8. Their ERAs were similar, but Hershiser had that finish with the consecutive scoreless streak, and so he won the Cy Young Award. So, Jackson went 23-8. He had a 2.73 ERA. Now, this isn't going to happen today, but he had 15 complete games and 6 shutouts and threw 260 innings. Only allowed 13 home runs that year.
Wow.
So that was Danny Jackson that year. And what did Danny Jackson do in 89? 6-11, 560. In 90, when they won the World Series, he started 21 games. He went 6-6 with a 361. But he was pretty good in the postseason. He made 2 starts in the NLCS and won one of those against the Pirates. He won Game 3. The Reds lost the first game of that series, came back and took a 2-1 lead. They won that game 6-3. Myers got his second straight save. And the Pirates had won Game 1 with a Ted Power save, which is interesting because the trade in 87 was they got him from the Royals with a guy named Angel Salazar, and the Reds traded Ted Power and Kurt Stillwell. And if you remember, Kurt Stillwell was the big prospect, and Barry Larkin ended up being a better player. So, to your point, Tom, you never know about these guys, right? You just never know which guys are going to pan out. So, he started Game 6. They lost. Okay, they won that. Then he started Game 6, and the Reds won 2-1 to clinch that series. He wasn't the winning pitcher. He pitched 6 innings, gave up a run. Charlton came in for the win. Myers got the save. And
Glenn Bragg caught the ball at the wall.
Yeah.
Almost knocked it down.
Yeah, and then the winning run in that game was in the 7th. Then this is interesting. This is old school NL ball here. A guy named, remember this guy, Luis Quinones?
Mm-hmm.
He pinch hit as part of a double switch with Charlton. He pinch hit for Paul O'Neill and drove in the winning run. Ron Oster scored the go-ahead run, and they won that game 2-1. So that's Jackson in the NLCS. In the World Series, he had 2 starts. Game 2 didn't go very well. He gave up 4 runs, 3 of them earned in 2 2/3.
He had 2 starts in a 4-game series?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Because Jose Rio went game number 1.
Why wouldn't Brown?
Jeff, that doesn't make sense. Jose Rio.
No, I'm sorry. He had one start, Game 2. I'm sorry. I saw the 2, and I said 2 starts, and it's a Game 2 start. I can't read my notes. So he gave up 4 runs, 3 earned. Welch was pitching for the A's, Bob Welch. He left trailing 4-2, and the Reds scored single runs in the 4th, 8th, and 10th to win that game in Game 2. In the 4th inning, Oster singled in Oliver. In the 8th, Hatcher got a leadoff triple against Welch, and then Glenn Braggs hit a ground ball up the middle, and Gallego got to it, but he had no chance to get Hatcher at home, and so that tied the score. And in the 9th, or the 10th, Eckersley is in. Eric Davis grounds out. You remember this name, Billy Bates?
Yeah,
little guy.
sure.
He got an infield single.
University of Texas.
He got an infield single, and then Sabo singled to left, ground ball through the side, shortstop, third base hole. Yeah, something like that, as I recall. So they're first and second, and then Oliver hits that, got credit for a single. It was basically a double that he hit over the bag. Bates scored. They get walk-off win, and it would have been a double in any other situation, but guy scores, they win the game, and then they go on and win the next 2, and so he can, even though he only started 21 games that year, he probably was hurt some that year, was decent, and then he helped them in the postseason for sure.
Him a lot that year.
He sure helped them, but of course the big year was that 88 year when he was just dominant.
And that was it. After that, was he even a starter for the Reds in 91?
I don't know. I think he was probably gone by then. Cause
he was it
Royals?
Cubs or someone?
He bounced around. I don't think I can tell you real quick since you want to know. He pitched. He came up. He broke into the major leagues as a 21-year-old in '83. He left the Reds, went to the Cubs, pitched there a little bit, pitched for the Pirates, pitched for the Phillies. He won 14 games in '94 for the Phillies, kind of a bounce-back year. After that, he was a little bit in St. Louis, finished at San Diego, ended up with a career ERA of 4.01. Just of some bad years, but he had some good years, obviously.
Yeah, 94 was his last year. Looks like he was an all-star that year.
Yeah, he made the all-star game in '94, and then he pitched. The last time he ever pitched was in '97 with the
San Diego
Cardinals and then the Padres, and he was pretty much done at that point. So he was 35, and he was done. But he'd thrown a lot of innings. I mean, he came up as a 21-year-old, and back in then you throw all those innings. So I'm interested to see what happens, what the record's going to show 20 years from now of starters, guys wearing out in their early to mid-30s. It was pretty common. Are guys going to last longer because they're not throwing as many innings now? Are you going to get – and there's always been a few guys that have pitched into their late 30s and been really good, right? There's always some of the Hall of Famers. Some guys are just good that way. But overall, is that number of how late in age you're effective, is that going to go up?
And is what the Brewers did last year without a true starters, number one starter.
The Rays, you mean?
The Brewers.
All the Brewers without a true number one.
Is that going to be more common? Is that going to catch on or not?
Well, I think that's one thing the Reds are thinking about.
And again, their lineup, Kristen Yelich, who was the first baseman who made the All-Star team, 40-plus homers,
Yeah.
Kind of like you. No one saw that coming. They just were able to hit the ball like crazy. The kid from the courthouse.
Shaw. Well, and Kane came over, too, and helped him.
If the Reds are wanting to do that, then they would not go out and get a number one starter.
No, they're going to look at this, and they're going to, and they got...
I think they will.
If they sign Keuchel, they sign him. I don't think they're going to. I think people are going to ask. I mean, it's easy to say, well, I would trade whatever I could for these guys, but at some point, people are going to ask too much, and you're going to mortgage way too much for a guy. And so I think that's what people are going to do. The Reds have been pretty shrewd the last couple of years of making some pretty good trades. I mean, here and there. And like the Frazier deal's looking better all the time and stuff like that. So those things, they've been pretty good at that. And I think they're the fact that they were willing to take on 4 guys who are in their contract year, last year of arbitration. It's like, we want to be better this year. We're tired of being last place. And I think that's what this all comes down to, that they're ready for that.
The trouble is with our division, even though we're better, are we better enough to be out of the basement of our division? I mean, you look at Pittsburgh, Milwaukee, St. Louis.
Cardinals picked up Goldschmidt.
Hey, if you win 80 games and finish in last place, that's still better than you feel like, well, the next year maybe we can really make a move. So,
but that's where all these guys they just got in the trade, they won't have them the next year. That's,
right.
That's the concern. It's almost like this team's built for everyday players to win now. So that's where the pitching comes in.
Yeah. It's a little bit that way. That's for sure. That's for sure.
Well, don't you think they are going to get a number one? If they did this one and done deal.
It could. I think they want to sign Keuchel. I think they really want to. I think that the desire is there. It comes down to affordability. Can you make it happen? Can you do it without trading away all your bet? You mean giving up one of your top prospects? I can live with that, but you don't trade away your 3 best prospects.
And Keuchel, we don't have to worry about that. We don't have to worry about
right, and that's why I'm willing to. That's why I say overspend. Not maybe overspend. Not necessarily like, oh, we can't afford that, but he's probably really only worth this a year, but we'll step up and go a little higher. That's the kind of overpay I think we're talking about.
Who else is going? Is there a Cubs or a Dodgers going after him as well? Is there a deep pocket?
Who knows?
Because then the agent would hold out for that.
Who knows? It just depends on how bad they really want him. Let's say pick an arbitrary number. Let's say $20 million a year is kind of what everybody thinks he's worth, for instance, and the Reds will say we'll go 22, and the Cubs might have the ability to go 25. Doesn't mean they will if they think we'll spend that money on somebody else. Yeah. We're not willing to spend 25 on him. We'll spend it. We'll do this. The Cubs haven't been that. The Cubs have been like completely silent this offseason, which makes me think they're going to do something like sign a Keuchel or something. But anyway, all right. Well, it's been a long show, but we had a lot to talk about and catch up on. So have we solved all the problems?
I think we have.
If they would just listen to us,
I think the
we'd
brain
win the World
trust
Series every year.
of Gilbert Jeterette Sizer could solve all the problems.
Well, we try.
All we need is a whiteboard and some money. That's all we need.
A whiteboard and some money. I like it. Then we could.
Who's on your board?
Who's on your board? All right. Well, spring training is mere weeks away, and maybe more additions to the roster are mere days away. You never know. Mm-hmm. Early January, we could find out about somebody else coming into the fold. And, of course, after something like that happens, we'll be back to talk about it. But until then, for Dick Williams and Nick Kroll, this has been another exciting edition of the Three Old Reds Fans. And as we always say,
Go Reds!